The void of space was a tapestry of brilliant nebulae and shadowy unknowns, stitched together with the threads of countless star systems. In the year 3124, the Orion Expanse stood as both a wonder and a warning, a region where cosmic storms raged like ancient tempests and forgotten wrecks drifted silently, relics of battles lost to time. Amid this vast, interstellar frontier sailed the warship Resolute Dawn, a gleaming sentinel of humanity amid the chaos of the cosmos. Captain Aurora Reyes stood at the command bridge, her eyes fixed on the expansive view screen that mapped the shifting luminescence of the expanse. The ship's sensors pulsed with data, painting a portrait of a region where beauty and danger danced in equal measure. The familiar hum of the engines underscored the ship's determined progress, yet the air, though filtered through advanced life support systems, seemed heavy with the portent of what lay ahead. "Steady as she goes," Reyes murmured, her voice calm yet resolute. Her crew, a diverse assembly of seasoned officers and eager young specialists, moved with disciplined precision, their every action contributing to the delicate ballet of interstellar navigation. Despite the routine nature of their patrol, a current of quiet unease threaded through the ranks, a premonition that today's journey might deviate from the familiar. The warship cruised through the glittering void until an unexpected anomaly flashed across the sensor displays. A narrow, forbidden hyperspace corridor, its coordinates uncharted and shrouded in cryptic warnings from ancient star charts. Alarm bells, both digital and the silent alarms within the captain's own mind, rang out in unison. "Captain, we're picking up a massive energy surge ahead," called Lieutenant Mora, her fingers dancing over the console as she attempted to decipher the influx of cryptic data. "It's like nothing we've ever encountered." Reyes frowned, her gaze narrowing as she studied the swirling patterns on the screen. "Bring us closer, but maintain a safe distance. I want every angle covered," she ordered, her tone both authoritative and edged with concern. The bridge fell into a concentrated hush, each crew member aware that they were venturing into the unknown. As the Resolute Dawn edged forward, the forbidden corridor loomed larger, a shimmering veil of distorted starlight and tumultuous energy fields. It was as if the very fabric of space was bending, an optical illusion that both beckoned and warned. For a fleeting moment, the ship's systems registered a surge of forbidden data, a cascade of information that hinted at ancient technologies and cosmic boundaries best left undisturbed. In that charged moment, every second stretched into infinity. The silence was punctuated only by the soft beeps of the instrument panels and the measured breathing of a captain acutely aware of the stakes. Her mind raced with both professional caution and a deeply personal understanding of the delicate balance between exploration and recklessness. Here, at the edge of human knowledge, one misstep could unleash consequences far beyond the control of any single command. "Captain, we're in position," announced Ensign Delgado, his voice betraying a mixture of awe and anxiety. "Sensors indicate an unaccounted gravitational flux, almost as if we're being pulled in by an unseen force." Reyes' hand tightened on the armrest of her command chair. "Hold steady. Increase power to the shielding arrays and run a full diagnostic. I want to know every detail of what we're dealing with," she ordered, her tone slicing through the rising tension. In the background, the chorus of crew members worked in unison, each data point, each fluctuation in the energy readings, weaving a narrative of cosmic mysteries and imminent danger. The forbidden corridor, a border etched in light and shadow, stood as both a promise and a threat. For Captain Reyes, it was a stark reminder that in the endless expanse of space, even the most routine patrols could lead to events that would ripple across the galaxy. As the Resolute Dawn hovered on the precipice of this enigmatic boundary, a deep and resonant hum vibrated through the ship's hull, a sound that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the corridor itself. In that moment, Captain Reyes felt a shiver of both dread and anticipation. The breach was not merely a navigational error. It was the opening salvo in a sequence of events that would soon transform a simple patrol into the catalyst for the greatest war the galaxy had ever known. The chapter closed on this pivotal moment, a silent promise of chaos and conflict, as the warship continued its reluctant approach into the forbidden void. unaware that its every move was being watched by forces far more ancient and inscrutable than any human could imagine. In the wake of the Resolute Dawn's fateful incursion into the Forbidden Corridor, ripples of alarm spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Back on her bridge, Captain Reyes stared at the unfolding data streams with a mix of dread and resolve, while her crew scrambled to secure their systems and assess the sudden spike in cosmic energy. Far beyond the steel confines of the warship, an intricate web of interstellar diplomacy began to unravel. Across countless star systems, diplomatic centers and command hubs received the same shattering news. A human warship had trespassed into a region long forbidden by ancient treaties and cosmic superstition. The first to react were the emissaries of the Arasil Coalition, a venerable alliance of species renowned for their wisdom and long-standing traditions. In a grand, marble-lined council chamber on their homeworld, high-ranking diplomats and military advisors convened in urgent session. Holographic maps and real-time sensor feeds illuminated the room, depicting the Resolute Dawn as a solitary beacon of human presence amidst an ominous, shifting void. Ambassador Kalira, a dignified figure draped in ceremonial robes that shimmered with alien script, spoke with controlled urgency. This incursion cannot be dismissed as a simple navigational error. It is an affront, a deliberate breach of sacred boundaries that our ancestors erected to safeguard the balance of the cosmos. Her voice, resonant and imbued with centuries of tradition, carried across the assembly, igniting a blend of indignation and apprehension. In parallel, on distant worlds where technological prowess and militaristic ambition reigned supreme, covert military channels buzzed with activity. Encrypted transmissions detailed the unfolding crisis, each message underpinned by the knowledge that the stability of ancient alliances now hung by a delicate thread. As each official weighed the potential consequences, whispers of retribution and preemptive strikes began to circulate. Whispers that quickly grew into heated debates within the war rooms of both friend and foe. Aboard the Resolute Dawn, the tension was palpable. Captain Reyes convened a meeting with her senior officers in the quiet confines of the command chamber. The room, bathed in the low glow of tactical displays, bore silent testimony to the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant Mora's earlier observations had only scratched the surface of an enigma that now threatened to spiral into a full-blown galactic crisis. "We've inadvertently sent a message that could be misinterpreted as aggression," Reyes stated, her voice measured but resolute. "Our intent was never to provoke, yet we stand at a precipice where misunderstanding may spark a war." Her eyes met those of her trusted lieutenants, each reflecting their own turmoil, doubt mingled with determination. They were united by a singular, unspoken commitment to steer their course through this storm of diplomatic turmoil and avoid the conflagration looming on the horizon. As the Resolute Dawn maintained its precarious position at the threshold of the Forbidden Corridor, its every data pulse echoed the sentiments of an entire galaxy now on edge. Hidden deep within encrypted channels, news of the breach had reached the ears of Lord Zirin Voss, the calculating sovereign of the Vossian Dominion. In his austere, darkened command chamber, surrounded by holographic star maps and strategic overlays, Voss allowed a faint, satisfied smile to cross his stern features. Here was an opportunity, a catalyst to tilt the cosmic balance in his favor. "Let the humans bear the burden of their own miscalculation," he murmured to his closest advisors, his voice cool and measured. "We shall orchestrate a response that not only secures our dominion, but also exposes the vulnerabilities of those who dare to trespass on the old boundaries." His words, dripping with the promise of power and retribution, set in motion a series of covert maneuvers that would soon have profound repercussions. In the coming hours, diplomatic channels were inundated with urgent communiques and defensive postures. High-stakes negotiations commenced in parallel with covert military preparations, creating an atmosphere of charged uncertainty. Each side, interpreting the breach through its own lens of history and ambition, began to marshal resources and form alliances. Amid the cacophony of interstellar voices, the underlying message was unmistakable. The galaxy was teetering on the brink of a conflict that could engulf countless worlds. Back on the Resolute Dawn, Captain Reyes felt the weight of responsibility tighten around her. Her ship, now a symbol of both human error and steadfast resolve, sailed in a sea of rising tension. Every crew member, from the seasoned veterans to the fresh recruits, understood that their actions in the hours ahead could mean the difference between a peaceful resolution and a devastating war. Thus, as whispers of outrage and calls for retribution echoed across star systems, the diplomatic crisis deepened. The breach had evolved from a mere navigational anomaly into a profound catalyst for interstellar conflict, a spark that threatened to ignite the powder keg of ancient grievances and modern ambitions. The resolute Dawn stood at the epicenter, its silent vigil a testament to the fragile, intricate dance between duty, misinterpretation, and the inexorable pull of destiny. In the charged aftermath of the breach, the galaxy shifted into a frenetic state of preparation. The once quiet hum of diplomatic negotiations transformed into a cacophony of urgency, each system and species scrambling to interpret the significance of the resolute Dawn's intrusion. Amid this escalating storm of uncertainty, the fragile threads of old alliances began to strain under the weight of mistrust and ambition. Aboard the resolute Dawn, the atmosphere in the command chamber was thick with determination and trepidation. Captain Reyes, her eyes still reflecting the ghost of that fateful moment at the corridor's edge, gathered her senior officers around a holographic display that pulsed with incoming communications from every corner of the galaxy. The screen was awash with vibrant, shifting maps, each pinpoint a reminder that every star, every world, now had a stake in what was unfolding. "We need to move carefully," Reyes declared, her voice a blend of steely resolve and quiet vulnerability. "Our actions now will determine whether this breach becomes a lesson in diplomacy or the spark that lights the fuse of war." The room fell into a contemplative silence as her officers exchanged cautious glances, each aware of the monumental responsibility resting on their shoulders. Across the galaxy, behind fortified command posts and ancient diplomatic halls, emissaries from diverse races and alliances convened in secret conclaves. In a grand, domed chamber on the Arasil homeworld, representatives of the venerable coalition debated fiercely. Their voices rose and fell in measured cadence, echoing off marble columns inscribed with the wisdom of centuries. "We cannot allow the actions of a single vessel to undermine the peace painstakingly built over generations," intoned a senior diplomat, her eyes glittering with both fear and determination. Yet, as the debate wore on, even the most ardent voices began to soften, replaced by a tentative willingness to negotiate. A small, yet vital, step toward averting the looming disaster. In a darker, more secluded corner of the cosmos, Lord Zirin Voss's operatives executed a different kind of strategy. Within his stark, shadowed war chamber, monitors flashed images of strategic military formations, while advisors whispered of potential alliances and power shifts. Voss, ever the architect of calculated ambition, saw the human misstep not as a blunder, but as an opportunity. "The chaos we witness now is the perfect cover," he murmured to his most trusted aide. "Let us form alliances in the shadows, pacts of convenience that will tip the scales in our favor when the time comes to act." Back aboard the resolute Dawn, a hushed tension grew as Lieutenant Mora and Ensign Delgado pored over the latest sensor readings. The data confirmed that the breach had not only altered the physical parameters of the corridor, but had also created unpredictable gravitational eddies, which could easily become weapons in the wrong hands. "Captain," Morris said, her tone laced with both technical expertise and palpable anxiety, "the corridor's instability is increasing. If left unchecked, it could serve as a gateway for hostile forces, natural or otherwise." Captain Reyes nodded, her mind racing with the myriad possibilities. "We need to send a delegation, a small, trusted team, to negotiate with the representatives of the Arasil Coalition and other affected alliances," she instructed. "Our goal must be to clarify our intentions before any further escalations occur." The order was clear. Diplomacy had to be the primary tool in defusing the rapidly rising tensions, even as military posturing intensified on every front. As the resolute Dawn prepared for its diplomatic mission, scenes of strategic parley unfolded in spaceports and embassies scattered across the galaxy. In a gleaming orbital pavilion above a vibrant planet, ambassadors from multiple species exchanged cautious greetings. The air was thick with formality and hidden agendas, as each side sought to assert its perspective while carefully weighing the potential cost of open conflict. Whispers of mistrust mingled with tentative promises of cooperation, revealing a tapestry of alliances as delicate as it was complex. In the midst of these high-stakes meetings, subtle acts of diplomacy began to take shape. Captain Reyes, with her innate blend of sincerity and authority, found herself at the forefront of these discussions. In hushed corridors and over secure communications, she sought to convey the simple truth. The breach had been an unintended misstep, a human error rather than an act of war. Yet, every word was measured against a backdrop of historical grievances and emerging ambitions, making it a tightrope walk where a single misstep could plunge the galaxy into chaos. Outside the formal halls of negotiation, clandestine gatherings in shadowed corners of the galaxy set the stage for covert alliances. Minor factions, previously relegated to the periphery of galactic politics, seized the moment to assert their own interests. These secret pacts, forged under the cover of darkness, hinted at future realignments, a shifting balance of power that might soon redefine the interstellar order. Thus, as alliances formed in both the light of open diplomacy and the shadowy recesses of clandestine strategy, the galaxy braced itself for the inevitable storm. The resolute Dawn sailed through these turbulent currents, a lone beacon of humanity striving to steer a course between conflict and compromise. In every whispered negotiation and every cautious handshake, the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, woven into the intricate tapestry of trust and trepidation that defined this critical moment in galactic history. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the consequences of the breach coalesced into undeniable reality. Aboard the resolute Dawn, Captain Reyes gathered her senior officers in the command chamber, where a single holographic display now dominated the space, a vivid montage of evolving threat zones and gravitational anomalies. The room pulsed with the gravity of impending conflict, each face reflecting the heavy burden of leadership and the inescapable cost of every decision. Reyes stood before the map, her eyes scanning the intricate dance of enemy formations and interstellar alliances rapidly shifting into focus. "We are standing at the crossroads of fate," she intoned, her voice resonating with both determination and a quiet sorrow. "Our actions have triggered forces far beyond our control, and now every move we make carries the weight of entire civilizations." The words hung in the air, stirring a collective anxiety that was as palpable as the ship's steady hum. In that pivotal moment, the internal debates that had long simmered beneath the surface exploded into open, urgent discussions. Lieutenant Mora, her voice edged with both technical expertise and personal concern, pressed, "The gravitational instabilities in the corridor are no longer a passive threat. They could be weaponized. We have to consider every contingency." Her eyes flickered with the realization that the natural chaos of space was transforming into a dangerous tool in the hands of those who sought power. Elsewhere on the bridge, Ensign Delgado monitored communications from various diplomatic channels. His latest update, delivered with trembling urgency, confirmed that several key alliances were mobilizing their fleets, each preparing for an all-out confrontation. "Captain," he said, his voice steady despite the tension, "it's clear that our breach has pushed more than one faction to the brink. The ancient pacts are awakening, and some leaders see this as the perfect moment to assert dominance." As the officers exchanged grave glances, a sense of irreversible change permeated the room. The once quiet possibility of a peaceful resolution had dissolved into a maelstrom of hard choices and moral dilemmas. In a private moment, Captain Reyes retreated to her personal quarters, a sanctuary filled with relics of past missions and reminders of the cost of leadership. There, the solitude offered a stark contrast to the cacophony of strategy and duty aboard the ship. The soft hum of distant engines became the only witness to her internal dialogue, as she revisited memories of loss and sacrifice, questioning whether the ends could ever justify the means. In the heart of the crisis, while Captain Reyes wrestled with her inner turmoil, Lord Zirin Voss was orchestrating a parallel symphony of ambition. In his shadow-laden command chamber, illuminated by the cold glow of holographic maps, Voss surveyed the unfolding chaos with a calculated intensity. "This is the moment I have awaited," he murmured to his trusted lieutenants, his eyes narrowing as he saw the perfect convergence of opportunity and vulnerability. "Every misstep by our adversaries is a stepping stone to absolute control. We shall strike decisively when the time is ripe." Voss's plans were not merely reactive, they were predatory. Behind his calm exterior lay an insatiable hunger for power, a desire to reshape the galaxy in his own ruthless image. His operatives worked in secret, arranging covert deployments and shadow alliances, each move designed to amplify the chaos initiated by the Resolute Dawn's fateful breach. Back aboard the human warship, the turning point crystallized in a tense council meeting. The holographic display flickered as maps, encrypted messages, and real-time battle simulations converged into a singular, foreboding vision. "We have a choice," Reyes announced, her tone both resolute and laden with the weight of inevitability. "We can either escalate our military posture, risking a full-scale war, or we can attempt an audacious diplomatic initiative that might yet defuse this crisis, at great personal and collective risk." The room was silent as each officer contemplated the dual paths before them. Some favored the hardline stance, believing that strength would deter further aggression, while others whispered of cautious negotiation, arguing that a war could devastate not just their ship, but the entire galaxy. The decision was as polarizing as it was critical, one that would define the fate of millions. In that defining moment, the Resolute Dawn hovered on the edge of irrevocable change. Every sensor reading, every calculated risk, and every moral compromise converged into a single, undeniable truth. The breach was no longer a simple navigational error, but a catalyst for a conflict that would etch its scars across the stars. As Captain Reyes prepared to make her choice, the ship itself seemed to resonate with the echoes of history and the silent prayers of countless souls who had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Thus, with the weight of destiny pressing upon her, Captain Reyes resolved to steer her vessel toward a path of daring diplomacy, a choice fraught with peril, yet illuminated by the faint hope of averting the cataclysm that loomed on the horizon. The turning point had been reached, and the galaxy, in its infinite complexity, braced itself for the unfolding of events that would change its course forever. The silence of space shattered with the roar of war. In the void where countless stars bore witness, the Resolute Dawn and its allied fleet plunged into a maelstrom of battle. Explosions lit the darkness like cosmic supernovas, while streams of energy and debris traced erratic paths across the void. The battle had erupted into a furious storm, a climactic display of military strategy and raw, elemental chaos. Amid the chaos, Captain Aurora Reyes stood resolute on the bridge, every nerve alight with the weight of her command. The holographic tactical map was awash with flickering blips, fleets engaging in deadly dance-like maneuvers, each formation a testament to the desperation of their causes. Her eyes, reflecting both the brilliance and terror of the unfolding battle, never left the display. "Maintain formation. Focus on their left flank. Divert their energy reserves," she barked, her voice clear over the clamor of alarms and the frantic shouts of her crew. In the distance, Lord Zirin Voss's flagship loomed like a predatory shadow, its dark hull contrasting with the burst of brilliant counterfire from opposing forces. Inside his command chamber, Voss exuded a cold, ruthless confidence. His voice, resonant and measured, carried over secure communications. "Advance, my warriors. Let the chaos serve our purpose. Crush their spirit, and let the galaxy know who rules these stars." His words were the calm within the storm, a predatory lull that spurred his commanders into action. As the battle intensified, starfighters wove intricate patterns through the void, each pilot locked in a deadly contest with the enemy. Amid the swirling mass of combat, intimate exchanges over comlinks revealed the human cost of war. One fighter pilot, his voice quivering with resolve, radioed back to the Resolute Dawn. "For every fallen comrade, we fight with the fury of 1,000 souls." His words, brief yet laden with raw emotion, resonated deeply with every officer on board. In the midst of this cosmic clash, Captain Reyes made a fateful decision. She ordered a daring maneuver, steering the Resolute Dawn directly toward the enemy's core formation. The ship shuddered as it maneuvered through cascades of laser fire and exploding vessels, a calculated risk that epitomized her blend of strategic brilliance and courageous audacity. As she gave orders, she exchanged terse, impassioned dialogue with her tactical officer, who confirmed, sirens blazing, "Captain, we're entering the heart of their fleet." Reyes's response was resolute. "Then we show them that human spirit is not so easily broken." The tension escalated to a fever pitch as the two opposing titans drew near. In a secluded quadrant of the battlefield, far from the chaotic fury of the skirmishes, a shuttle separated from the Resolute Dawn and streaked toward Lord Zirin Voss's flagship. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with grim determination. Captain Reyes, clad in a battle-worn suit, prepared herself for the inevitable confrontation. The shuttle's path, illuminated by emergency flares, traced a direct line to the enemy vessel's command deck, a symbolic, if perilous, route to the heart of tyranny. On the opposing side, Voss awaited in a stark, minimalist command chamber that seemed designed to accentuate the void's austerity. As the shuttle docked, the door hissed open, and Captain Reyes stepped inside. Their first meeting was framed by the stark contrast of light and shadow. Reyes, resolute and fiercely human; Voss, cloaked in calculated darkness. For a long moment, they regarded each other in silence, a silent dialogue where every glance conveyed decades of ambition, loss, and defiance. "You stand before me, claiming honor in the face of overwhelming odds," Voss intoned, his voice a low rumble that resonated with authority. "Tell me, Captain Reyes, do you believe your actions can reverse the tide of destiny?" Reyes's reply was measured but defiant. "I do not stand alone, nor do I claim to reverse destiny. I fight for the hope that even in our darkest hours, humanity can choose compassion over conquest. This battle is not merely a contest of firepower. It is a testament to the will of those who refuse to be subjugated by fear." Their words, exchanged in the charged air of impending doom, became the embodiment of the conflict itself, a collision of ideologies where brute force met steadfast conviction. Outside, the battle raged on with ever-increasing ferocity. The tactical displays aboard both vessels lit up with real-time data, mapping the chaotic ballet of fleets intertwining in combat. Explosions echoed like cosmic thunder, punctuating the silence between the high-stakes declarations of war. Back on the Resolute Dawn, the crew watched with bated breath as their captain's shuttle departed after the brief, yet fateful encounter. Every officer felt the gravity of that dialogue, a moment that distilled the essence of the war. It was not merely a clash of steel and energy. It was a profound contest of wills, with the galaxy as its arena. As the battle entered its critical phase, the combined might of the Allied fleets converged on Voss's flagship. Tactical beams, energy torpedoes, and evasive maneuvers painted a picture of relentless determination. The clash reached its zenith when Captain Reyes herself, coordinating from the bridge, initiated a daring final assault, a maneuver designed to disable the enemy's command capabilities and force a surrender. In the midst of blinding light and deafening sound, the struggle for control, honor, and the fate of countless worlds unfolded with epic grandeur. Each explosion, each burst of energy, was a note in the symphony of war, a tumultuous ode to sacrifice, courage, and the enduring power of conviction. And in that climactic moment, as the two opposing forces clashed with all the fury of an ancient grudge renewed, the course of the galaxy began to change irrevocably, one blazing star at a time. The fury of battle had subsided, leaving in its wake a vast and haunting silence that blanketed the galaxy. In the aftermath of the monumental confrontation, the Resolute Dawn drifted through space like a wounded but unyielding beacon of hope amid the scattered remnants of war. Debris and smoldering wreckage formed a ghostly mosaic against the inky backdrop of distant stars, a stark reminder that every victory bore a profound cost. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, the atmosphere was heavy with both relief and sorrow. Captain Reyes, her features etched with fatigue and lingering grief, surveyed the quiet chaos unfolding on the tactical displays. Every flicker of light represented a battle fought, a sacrifice made by countless souls whose echoes still reverberated through the corridors of memory. The immediate threat had been quelled, yet the fissures of conflict were still raw and ever-present. Across the galaxy, the reverberations of the conflict were felt in every corner. Worlds that had once thrived in fragile peace now struggled to rebuild, their communities scarred by loss and uncertainty. In the aftermath, diplomatic emissaries gathered in hastily assembled councils, their voices tentative as they sought to mend the rifts that had nearly plunged the cosmos into irreversible chaos. The corridors of power buzzed with cautious optimism, a shared resolve to forge alliances that would ensure the horrors of war were never repeated. Within the solemn halls of the Arasil Coalition's Grand Council chamber, ambassadors debated the future with a mix of solemnity and guarded hope. Our actions, though fraught with peril, have taught us that unity is our greatest strength, intoned Ambassador Kalira, her voice soft yet determined as she addressed a sea of attentive faces. The coalition, having narrowly avoided complete disintegration, now sought to create mechanisms of dialogue and mutual respect, determined to heal the wounds inflicted by suspicion and strife. Meanwhile, in the subdued lighting of his now quieter command chamber, Lord Zirin Voss confronted the bitter consequences of his ambition. The mighty warlord, once so resolute in his pursuit of dominion, now found himself staring into a void of uncertain victory. The clash of ideals and the ravages of battle had left deep marks upon him, a silent reckoning that the price of power might be more than he could ever bear. His once imperious gaze softened into one of introspection, a fleeting glimpse of regret amid the hardened resolve he had long embraced. Back aboard the resolute Dawn, Captain Reyes gathered her most trusted officers in the quiet of the command chamber. The room, still illuminated by the soft glow of emergency lights and data screens, bore witness to the ship's collective exhaustion and hope. Today, we have seen both the devastating cost of conflict and the resilience of our spirit. She addressed her crew, her voice steady despite the emotional weight of the words. It is now our duty to help rebuild what has been shattered and to ensure that the peace we forge is as enduring as it is hard-won. In the days that followed, tentative peace efforts blossomed from the ruins of war. Fleets returned to their home systems, and the battered but unbroken survivors began the arduous task of reconstruction. Amid this period of reflection and renewal, secret meetings between former adversaries slowly paved the way for agreements that promised lasting reconciliation. Every handshake, every conciliatory word, carried with it the fragile hope of a future where disputes would be settled not by the thunder of war, but by the quiet strength of unity. As the resolute Dawn set course for its home port, a symbolic journey marking both the end of one turbulent era and the uncertain dawn of another, the ship's crew took solace in the knowledge that their sacrifices had not been in vain. The scars of battle would remain as somber reminders, but they would also serve as guiding beacons for a galaxy committed to learning from its past. In every whispered conversation, in every determined step toward rebuilding, the legacy of that fateful conflict inspired a collective resolve to cherish peace above all else. In the twilight of the war, as the galaxy began to stitch together the delicate fabric of a renewed alliance, the echoes of both triumph and tragedy blended into a single, enduring message that even in the darkest hours, hope could shine with the promise of a brighter tomorrow.